Here's my humble little bed, twin-size bed. And today is the 250th anniversary of the U.S. Army. 250 years the Army has served the people of the United States and the world. Everybody. It's kind of, I have mixed emotions. Sometimes I'm really, really proud of the decision I made to become a soldier. I'm proud of the decisions I made while I was a soldier. And other times I shy away from portraying what sometimes can be seen in many places as militant, as imperialistic, as superior. Sometimes can be seen as a gang. You know, just because I wore the uniform, the cloth of America, doesn't always mean that I agree with some of the things that are going on. I keep a lot of the stuff that I think and I feel to myself. I don't usually say a lot. However, my actions speak clearly and loudly. I believe in justice. I believe that no person, no body is greater or superior to anybody else. I believe that it doesn't matter where you were born, because where you were born was not your choice. You didn't come out of the womb saying, I chose to be born here on this spot at this time. You didn't make that choice. Somebody else made that choice. And sometimes those people that made that choice didn't even choose to make that choice. It was coincidence. It was luck. It was fortune. It was, it was timing. And, I was once asked by an older brother of mine, my eldest brother, who is a Mexican citizen. He asked me, what would you do if the U.S. went to war with Mexico? What would you do? And because I was young and I was stupid, but yet I was myself. I am who I am. I didn't answer the question because I couldn't. And I'm glad that question never materialized in reality, that I never had to face that. But I know that at many times there are people that are in service to our country that have to make big, profound, ethical decisions. And when I say people in service, that's law enforcement, that's first responders, that's government officials. And all I can say, folks, is I always hope that people really use their absolute best childhood conscience. Because in reality, most of us are born good. Well, all of us, all children, everybody is born equal. We're born good. We only learn our badness, our stupidity, our ignorance, or we keep our ignorance, because that's a decision. As we grow older, depending on who we associate with, the climate we're around, our environment, and what we feed our mind and our soul. So I designed this t-shirt because that's the way I feel, and that's the way I felt, and I have always felt that the decision I made to choose the military, to choose being a soldier for part of my life, small part, very small part, but very impactful part. You know, I know that by the ages of up to about 3, 4, and 5, our personalities are pretty much developed. That's who we are. That's who we're going to be. And we grow and we build on those traits and all those things that we learned in those first few years. And likewise, a lot of our personality is built upon in the military. And people say oftentimes, "Oh, the military changed you." No, 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 no. For me, I fully disagree with that. But that's for me. The military did not change me. It did not mold me. What it did was it gave me the opportunity to be who I already was. And so I was not a soldier wanting to go kill people, although I do believe I would have a talent for that. And I have a little silence there because that's kind of scary, you know. But I also have a talent for healing and taking care of people, because that's something that I had always wanted as a child, but didn't fully receive. So what I didn't get as a child, I wanted to give back. And I know a lot of people can understand and relate to that, because oftentimes children, young people are neglected, they're misunderstood. And there's sometimes not a lot of time to give to a child, especially when you're in a big family, or, you know, current environment doesn't allow for that. You know, there's a lot of parents out there raising kids, but they're not really raising them. They're having them, but they're working 2 and 3 jobs, and they're going to school at night, and they're tired and they're exhausted, and they also need to have a regular social life, and they got pets, and they got games, and they got responsibilities, and they have their own childhood traumas that they're dealing with, and nobody was ever really trained to be a parent. And so the military to me is very similar. You know, the military can become a parent for some, but it's not meant to be that. So, veteran, U.S. Army, proud to serve. I'd do it all over again. When I came back from my time in the service, a lot of people, about 5, 6 years, maybe even up to 10 years, were always making me feel very, very uncomfortable by thanking me and asking me questions and how it was and this and that. And I shied away from that because it wasn't something that I wanted to talk about or deal with, because part of me felt fraudulent. Like I was in a place, in a position where I was getting some kind of honor and respect when I didn't really feel like I deserved it, because in reality, all I was doing was my job. And like most people, we go out and do a job, or we get a career field because we want to serve ourselves. We want to have an income. We want to have an education. We want to feed our friends, our family, our dog, our cat, whatever. It's a selfish thing. And so when I joined the military, it wasn't to serve you or you or you. It was to serve me. It wasn't to serve the U.S., the country. Hell, I didn't even really fully have an idea about the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and the amendments and all that stuff. I had no idea about government. I had no idea about political parties or anything like that, because at that time in 1985 and 86, when I joined the military and then actually went into the military, I wasn't interested in government and politics and all that stuff. What I was interested in was fishing, hiking, swimming, redheads, blondes, brunettes, smoking weed, getting laid. I mean, I was a typical 17 and 18-year-old kid. That's who I was. And so do you really think a 17, 18-year-old kid has the maturity and the intelligence to understand politics and law and justice? Well, justice, yes. I've always understood. I know what justice is. That I know. Because that's not very difficult. Something is right and questionable and wrong and still questionable, but you got a good idea what justice is. So I would always say I've always understood what justice is because I believe I have a pretty good conscience. But when I joined the military, I didn't join to serve others. I joined to serve myself, my own interests. And I believe most of us would say the same. Even if they say, oh, I want to go kill people. I want to go defend our nation. Defend our nation from what? What are we defending from? If you really want to defend our nation, I don't think we need to look very far further than look right inside the big corporate buildings and the big government buildings and ask and hold the people accountable that take our money, that take our liberties away, that pay tribute more to lobbyists than they do a family. Your family, your mom, your dad, When did any big corporation or big government agency ever show up and say, hey, if you need something, I'll give you a hand. What can I do for you? And actually show up and do something and not ask you for something in return. So I'm on a soapbox right now, but I've been losing a little bit of sleep and have felt anxious over the past 10 days, couple weeks or so. And part of it is because I see what's going on. And a lot of what's going on is because we're manipulated with fear. Fear as a tool to control us. And I don't want to be. I don't want to be afraid. And yet I still am. And most of us are. In some way. I'm afraid I got to go to the garage, get my stepladder, and go up into my attic through my crawl space or my trap door to get a bird that keeps getting into my damn attic. I'm eventually going to seal that hole, but that drives me absolutely insane. But you know what? That little bird gives me notification that it's in the house because I can hear it flapping its wings and I can hear it making its noise up against the wood in the attic. It gives me an alert that it's there. I want to kill it. Part of me wants to kill it and destroy these birds. And the other part, my human side, says, no, there's a better way. I don't have to be that person that kills these animals. Part of me wants to be because it drives me insane. But the good-natured part of me says no. And that same battle is always a constant within me. And that's the constant of deciding what is right, what is wrong, and what is just. Just is saving that bird. Knowing that I have the ability to save that bird's life. I'm not going to cater to it. I don't have bird feeders around my house. I don't have fruit trees around my house. I don't try to create the problem, but I can manage the problem the best way possible. I will close that hole up in the house and do whatever it takes to keep those birds less welcome here. Because they can become a nuisance. They can become a problem for this home, and I don't want that. But I will do it justly and mercifully and intelligently and compassionately. So, folks, this is my little room here. I do a lot of thinking. I look out the windows in the morning. I try to live a very humble life. I was once a soldier. I did raise my hand to the Constitution to defend and protect the Constitution, we the people. I'd do it all over again. But I'll tell you what, folks. To be a soldier these days might be a very difficult place to be. I know for myself, I had soldier friends that were very militant, very angry, very narrow-minded, and probably very racist. I mean, I saw it. We all saw it. Any one of us who were soldiers or have been soldiers have seen the divisions within the ranks. My survival skill in all situations has always been diplomatic. I try to talk to everybody. I try to listen to everybody, see where they're coming from. Even the folks that I would not agree with or even want to spend more than a few moments with or, just in the ranks with. Because, just because we're all in uniform and we're all in the same group, the same force, the same army, the same country, doesn't mean we agree. But I never felt like I didn't want to be there, like I didn't want to serve, like I didn't want to be the best soldier I could possibly be. I wasn't a great soldier. I wasn't a good soldier. I took care of people. Yeah, there's folks that say, yeah, he was a good soldier, and they have the right to their opinion, but their opinion is none of my business. I did the best that I could at the time, what I knew, how I felt, what was going on. I made a lot of mistakes. I sure did. But I'd do it all over again, folks. But like I said, if the times were now, that decision would be a much bigger decision. It'd be something I'd have to really, really think about. It's like, oh shit, what is going on here? I believe in good leadership, folks. Everybody wants to be led by somebody that's highly intelligent, just, smart, compassionate, humble, brave, courageous. I don't remember everything I read while I was in the military. I never got brainwashed, folks. I never got to the position in anything or any group or anything. Who said that? Was it Groucho Marx? I never want to be part of a club that allows me to come in or get in. And that's how I feel. It's like, everything's temporary. I served. I did what I had to do. I learned. And it was a good experience. And I'd do it all over again. But like I said, now the decision would be much more difficult. And I really think that there are a lot of veterans out there, a lot, that have a lot of stress and anxiety because they have to be, they're being placed in places that they don't want to be, or that their conscience may not be backing them up completely. Like they're questioning what they're doing. And that's terrible. So I don't want to preach to people. Everybody makes their own choices. But all I could hope is that you make the best, compassionate, just choices that you can make. Think intelligently. Don't think just emotionally. Don't think by what other people are telling you. Research, read, learn, question. And look at different sides of a coin. And then when you make that decision, your decisions, if you make a mistake, admit it and apologize. I mean, what is this whole thing that is so difficult, especially men, to apologize, especially if they're apologizing to a woman? It's become, no, I take that back. It has not become, it has always been a man's world. And yet we have days of reverence to women like Mother's Day. And we thank them for giving us life. And we thank them for feeding us. And we thank them with flowers. And we thank them with taking them out with dinner. But I'm curious, when do we actually empower a woman or give that woman the due respect of being as our equal, as powerful? And that's one of the things that I've noticed these past few years and have taken more, have become more aware of, and that is that there are a lot, equally, not a lot, equally as many women that deserve to be in leadership positions, that need to be thought of as more than just mothers or moms, tits, asses, but women of fortitude, with vision, with strength, with courage and power, leadership, leaders, stronger, in my opinion, oftentimes than men. Any person that can squeeze out a bowling ball out a hole the size that a mouse goes in and out of, come on, men. You get a cold, we get a cold, and we're in bed for like 2 days, 3 days. Feed me, take care of me, baby me. But we want to act like we're these brave, strong men. And some of you guys are. Some of you guys are. Yeah, I mean, any guy that runs into a fire to go save people, runs into a burning building, knowing that it could collapse at any second, sees the fires, the flames, law enforcement that are protecting people, that run in when their bullets are flying, soldiers that do the same thing. I didn't really have to worry about that. I was protected by a few millimeters of canvas during our war, so I always felt protected. Draped by canvas, I felt like I was invincible because I was young and stupid. But those folks, that courage, that bravery, we should honor that. But just because somebody wears a uniform of a certain material, a certain cloth, doesn't give them the pass on surpassing or bypassing laws, regulations, ethics. It's just like a baseball player or basketball player. Sure, they could be your favorite team. They're great on the court or on the field or in the pool or whatever, and they're waving their flag and their team spirit, but they might go home and beat their wife or kill their dog or drink and drive. Just because they're wearing that uniform doesn't give them doesn't make them any more special than anybody else. And likewise, the folks that wear military uniforms, police uniforms, they're just you and I, and they should be treated just like you and I when it comes to matters of law and justice. These are things and topics that I often think about, folks. Sometimes I keep them to myself. Sometimes I want to write them down on paper, but it seems like writing these days, my penmanship sucks. Like, I get tired of writing after 3 or 4 pages. Like, I occasionally will write a letter, and by the second page, I'm like, oh shit, I should have typed this out. But there's something about a written letter or handwriting that's so much more special when somebody receives that. So this was a large or a long video, but if you listen to it, it'll give you an idea of one veteran's perspective, just one in 100 million, several 100 million, whatever, however many veterans we've had in the U.S. forces. And maybe there's some other ones that might think similarly in some ways. I don't mind sharing my thoughts like this every now and then, but it takes me a while. I wish I had the strength and the fortitude to maybe be out more in the public and share my thoughts and lead in a different way. Because I do believe we all have leadership capabilities, abilities. They just need to be honed. They need to be seasoned. They need to be nourished. And we need to be mentored. I had some good mentors. I believe that my parents were pretty good mentors. They didn't do it on purpose. They did it because they had to. I had some good leaders in the military. I've read up on some good leaders, Colin Powell and Schwarzkopf, and some of the presidents, and definitely a lot of the women leaders like Jane Addams. I was just reading up about Jane Addams that made her life here in Rockford, Illinois, and studied here in Rockford, Illinois. And I highly suggest that people read up on a lot of these people. And for the folks that are out protesting today on the 250th anniversary, that's your right. That's who helps support that right there. That's why you have that right. No, take that back. Not why. One of the reasons why that right still remains is because people in uniform took an oath to the Constitution. I mean, hundreds of thousands of people daily take the oath of the Constitution, whether you're in government, whether you're in the military. It's important to know what's written in that document. I was just listening to it on YouTube on multiple pages or YouTube channels, listening to it and studying it, and now I believe, I could be mistaken, but I believe that Harvard University is offering a class or classes free on the Constitution, and I believe that's very necessary for us to take those classes, because I think a lot of us take a lot of things for granted. We take for granted that we wake up in the morning and we live in one of the nicest countries or one of the best countries in the world. I wouldn't say the best. We've traveled a lot, and trust me, there is no best. Nobody's the best. You might be better in some ways, but you're not the best. Anyways, folks, long video. If any of this interests you, if you found any of this enlightening, send me a message. Ask me a question. If you want to connect in a peaceful, respectful way, send a message. If you want to send a message because you are totally against what I say, or you feel that maybe my speech is too liberal, then I highly suggest you read the Constitution. And if you're a person of faith, then maybe reread your book that guides you, whatever books those may be. And keep it peaceful, folks. And for all the veterans and soldiers that served with me, around me, that led me, that I may have led, I led a few, very small few, for a few moments. I'm glad that I spent time with you guys and women. I'll always love you guys, love those moments. And for some of you that I did spend time with that I am no longer connected with, I disengaged for health reasons, for mental health reasons. Because although we may have served together, It's okay to let go of some things and some people and some moments and some times and some history. You don't forget the history, you just let it go. That's personal history. That's not history that belongs to everybody. That's my history. So it's okay. And that's my decision and that's my choice. And that's what I'm proud of, folks. Veteran, U.S. Army, proud to serve. I'd do it all over again by choice. And I'm proud of the choices that I made while I was in the military. The choices I made to take care of certain people, the choices I made when I raised my voice, when I was humble, when I allowed myself to be led by the best qualified people at that time, at the moment of what was going on. That's what I would do all over again. If I was back there again and I went into a higher leadership position, I would lead by example. I would hold the truths of the Constitution and other very good, reputable books and the examples of the best leaders possible. I'd want to be a good leader. That's what we strive for in life, is just to eventually become the best person that we can possibly be. And if you're not striving for that, then look in the mirror and ask yourself, what are you striving for? And what are your motivations? What is motivating you? Today, what motivated me to make this video was, I think, time. Time. And knowing that there are folks out there that might be a little on the quiet side, like I am. I'm an introvert. That might need to know that you're not alone. If you're fighting with your conscience of what's right and wrong or where you stand, it's okay. Everybody's got to fight, folks. Sometimes when we make decisions and they're so easy, they're not always the right decision. So think about what you're doing. And once again, try to be the absolute best person that you possibly can.